Okay, time for another speaking tip today. With all this preparation and all the technology we have and all the many issues that go into what a good speech is, there's a lot of complexity in it. And a lot of times we can get our attention spread out over all these complex issues and we can forget the fundamental thing that we're trying to do. And I have one rule for speaking, and this is the bottom line. No matter what talk we're giving, no matter whether it's PowerPoint, we're using a lapel mic, we have a wired mic on stage, we're behind a lectern, whatever's going on, there's one thing the speech has to do. And that is the question, does the speech communicate? And by communicate, what I mean is it's not what you said, it's what the audience heard. Communication, by definition, is what gets duplicated at the receipt end. If it doesn't get duplicated at the receipt end, it did not communicate. It's that simple. And any of us that have been in relationships know what it's like when one person's talking and the other isn't listening, and one person thinks they're communicating, but it's not hitting the other person, and it can create all sorts of problems and upsets and arguments, and that's a whole other speech topic. But the bottom line is, as a speaker, we can get so wrapped up in the complexity and so wrapped up into how pretty our PowerPoint slide is, or so wrapped up in the fact that I want my wireless lapel mic, I have to have a headset, I can't have a clip-on down here. Along that line, the bottom line is, do your concepts, your stories, your messages communicate to the audience? And where this has come home to me, because I've gotten caught up in this, a lot of times I would get caught up in the fact that, I had a certain suits that I would wear, I had my PowerPoint put there, everything was, I had different props I would use. And I remember one time I was going to a conference to speak and the airlines lost my luggage. Actually, what happened was, it was an ice storm and my plane got diverted and I had to hop on another flight to make it, because I wasn't going to make it, and my luggage was on the other flight. So I showed up in my travel clothes, which was a pair of corduroy pants, some Merrell slip-on winter, sort of moccasins, and a sweater. That's what I was traveling in. And the next morning, I was up first thing. And I had to speak with no PowerPoint, pair of corduroys and a sweater. And I got up there and just said, hey, this is what happened. And I'd spoken to that group a number of times, and they said, that was one of the best speeches we ever heard you give. It was like you were really just talking to us. That was a good lesson I learned. My speech communicated so much more because I didn't have a lot of things I was really used to having and was using to supplement or complement my communication. So the bottom line you got to look at is, does your speech communicate? And the way I would recommend you discover that is by getting feedback from your audience. And the feedback I look for is, what did you feel worked well? What did you feel didn't work well? What was my message? Those are basically the three questions I ask. Like, what worked, what worked well, what did you like, what didn't work well, or what didn't you like about the speech? Was there anything that you just didn't feel connected to you? And what was my message? And there's a lot of times I'll just have a sheet of paper with those three questions on it, and I may hand that out to 5, 6, 10 people in the audience. And I say, would you do me a favor and just fill this out for me, give me some feedback on my speech? Then I get the feedback back and see, was my message consistent? What did they like? What didn't they like? And it allows me to continue to get feedback so that I know my message is going to communicate to that audience. Okay, bottom line, number one rule, does your speech communicate? Till next time.